hours. And I think if you asked anybody on the team, they would tell you the same thing. In 2000, we came within 32 seconds of winning this event overall. 32 seconds over 24 hours. What do you think we did when we went back home? After we got done drying the tears and taking the boot out of our butt. We looked at every single thing we did during that 24-hour race, just to see if we could find 33 seconds. And it became abundantly clear and well-defined all the areas in which we needed to improve. Whether it was from pit stop equipment, to pit stop implementation, to driver changes, to how we change tires. That moment in time, that personal introspective moment, the agony of that 32-second defeat is what formed the foundation of this race team to want to go out and win every endurance race in which we entered. That gave us the resolve. The rest is pretty much history. To have done that, obviously with Earnhardt's here, just was frosting on the cake. It was a tremendous moment in Corvette racing time for us and I think for our fans. Those of you who are here, I'm sure probably enjoyed it. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah. Give yourself a round of applause. How about? Thank you. To be back, what is it? Maybe, I can't do the math because it never adds up.
13, Doug.
No, it's more. There's more. There's more if you count our debut here in 1999 and then our victory in 2001. You're correct there. Well, we had a pretty stellar debut here as well. I mean, we led for 18 or 20 hours, only because the guy who drove for us later on, Olivier Beretta, I owed him, wrecked him. They only brought one Viper because they thought they had it figured out. They wrecked about 2 hours into the race. We assumed that we were about a lap down then. We assumed the lead carried it on until about the 20-hour mark, and then we had some engine issues. Finished on the podium, so that was pretty cool for our debut. It was enough to impress my bosses that said, well, maybe we can continue doing this. So this place has a lot of history. So we're glad to be back. We're excited to be back, and it's kind of neat that we're debuting the C7.R here, same place we started our whole racing career. So it's you're gonna be part of a moment in time, a part of Corvette history. I just hope that tomorrow and Sunday we can provide a great moment in Corvette history. We're going to work to do that. But you can see by qualifying that the times are just like they ended up last year, tremendously close. I mean, when you think about this, you've heard me say this before, but I had this conversation with 3 different, very, very astute magazine editors today. And I said, think about an 8-liter V8, a 5.5-liter V8, a 5-liter, a 4.5-liter, front engine, mid-engine, rear engine. Here's your assignment. I want you to take those cars, take them to your engineering department. I want you to put them on the racetrack with different drivers. And by the way, the top 6 cars, they better be within 0.2 of a second of one another or you're going to be looking for work. Like I said, you could work 3 lifetimes on an engineering team and never achieve that goal. It's a testament to a couple things. Obviously, the dedication of all the teams we're representing, that are represented here that we're racing against. Anybody who walked down by the paddock saw the Porsche effort. There's no English-speaking people there. Dude, they are here. They have landed, and they have brought their full force with them. They are a force to be reckoned with. They'll be a serious competitor tomorrow. Ferrari is always fast just because it's a great little race car. It's a great little street car if you got an extra 350,000. All right? And you don't care if it works every day.
Or runs 24 hours.
We got an Aston Martin here. These guys like to come over and cherry pick. You know, they sit home, pretend like they're the poor, little orphans of the world. They get all kind of benefits from the sanctioning body. Then they come over to our big events and try and steal them. Well, we're not going to put up with that. Okay? You know, we bailed them out once. We kicked their butt first, then bailed them out, and we plan on kicking their butt again tomorrow. So we're not worried about the Aston Martin. I think that Viper has come a long way. Quite frankly, they've been given a lot. They're running an 8-liter motor with a bigger restrictor than we have on our 5.5-liter motor. Okay? But the reality of it is, I do have some sympathy for them because they don't have a very good car to start with. 1999, maybe a little known fact here, Bob and Bill Riley, close lifelong personal friends of mine, we debuted 2 cars down here. Pratt Miller was such a small organization, they only had the capacity, manpower, and equipment to run 1 car. Where did I go to get the second car? Bob Riley and Bill Riley. At that time it was called Riley and Scott. They campaigned the second Corvette here on our debut. And now we're here racing against them in the Viper. They're very worthy competitors, they work very hard, and their cars are going to be a car to certainly be reckoned with. So as a rundown from there, I don't know that there's any given favorite here. You know, if you ask the at-large guy, they would probably say Corvette just because we have a long history of winning endurance races. I'm not going to argue with that. But the reality of it is, the truth of the matter is, anybody in that starting field, any one of those cars is fully capable of winning. And you can't say that about very many race series. You know, you can pick your top 4 or 5 guys and then there'll be some twist of fate for somebody else to win. Everybody in that field has the ability to take that checkered flag tomorrow. So, we're going to be working hard to do that. Anybody get a chance to review the cars? I know I got a chance to chat with some of you. Anybody go down to the pits and check them out? I have to tell you, you know, I go back and I look, we have one of the old cars at our shop. And we have one on display, although we've made it into a show car. The car, by the way, the actual car. We thought when we built that car back in 1999 forward that it was state-of-the-art, and it was. It had the most beautiful body, it had the best body panel fit, it had the most advanced this, that. Dude, you compare it to the car we just finished, that looks like I built it in my garage. The guys went over there the other night and looked at it, and they couldn't believe it because they remember in their minds getting it done and how prideful they were of what they had created. And every level of their skill, every material available to ourselves, we put in that car, that labor of love, hours and hours and hours. And we looked at that as just a jewel. And then you compare it to what we just finished building, what they just finished. I mean, it's no comparison. We're pretty proud of it, to say the least. I think we represent the brand well, which essentially is representing you guys. You've heard me say this, say it again, we can't do this without you. Look around, look at the turnout here. You know, it's 4 feet of snow on the ground, another blizzard coming our way tomorrow. Who knows, I can't believe we're in Florida. But you guys turn out. Hell, high water, cold, doesn't matter, you're here. And that's a testament to the brand, it's a testament to the hard work Harlan Charles does, Kurt Benyon, and certainly Pat Schechter, and all the guys on the race team. I want you to applaud for yourselves for right now, okay? Please, because I can't be here without you here. I'm looking around here, I'm gonna find a guy, oh, I see him. How about the environment here? Cold. Inside this tent.
Warm.
Did you see anybody else has a heated tent?
No.
Well, how does that happen, you might ask? Because what level of insanity would you have to have? Yeah, we're going down to Daytona for that race. I want you to make sure that tent's heated. What? Oh, you're going to Florida. I know, but I want that tent heated. A week ago, there's a company that runs this event, PMG, Performance Marketing Group, owned and run by a guy who I've known for more years than I'm going to say. He's sitting in the back corner, John Dangler. Stand up and hold your hand up because I'm going to tell these people a story or two. John and I met. He was performance marketing manager back at Motorcraft. That was a company that operated out of Dearborn, made a car called the Ford. I don't know if they're still in business or not. I know they're struggling. God bless them all. And I went in to get some sponsorship from John because I had my own little race team, and at that point in time I ran out of Ford. And I'm just a guy off the street, and we went in and we talked for about an hour, just BS'd our way through a whole mile of stuff. And at the end of the day, I didn't need much. He was able to give it to me. And that relationship started on that very day. I got batteries and I got oil and filters and stuff I simply couldn't afford to buy and still afford to race. But really was not a huge dent in what he was doing, but he recognized the heart of a racer there. And we've become fast friends over the years. John Dangler last week gets on the internet, sees what the weather's going to be down here for you people, and he says, it's going to be colder than hell down there. I want you to get that tent cornered off, and I want heat in that tent for you people. John Dangler, thank you for caring, and thank you for being smart enough to doing that. You see, when you talk about Corvette and you talk about teamwork, it's way deeper than what you just see on the racetrack. John is a committed Corvette team member. He cares about you like we care about you. And that's what caused that to happen. That's what we build at Corvette. We build those personal relationships, that caring bond. That's what sets us apart from everyone else at this racetrack. That's what makes us champions. You people do that. So, we're going to move along today. We'll go right to questions and answers. Unfortunately, I've got, as you can imagine, well, maybe you can imagine, I have a pretty tight schedule tonight, and I got to try and sleep before we start this race tomorrow. And I got drivers coming up right behind me, and they're going to be in a big hurry, because they're always in a hurry. I mean, they work 33 days a year. I'm going to be in a hurry. So we'll do question and answers. And I'll be happy to talk about anything happened in the past, anything going on right now, anything in the future. And those of you that know me know that if I don't know the answer, I will make up one that's so convincing you won't be able to tell the difference. Everybody leaves here happy. Yes, sir.
What's the status of Dan and the number 3 car? They didn't qualify.
What's the status of the number 3 car with Yan and Antonio and Ryan, because they didn't make qualifying yesterday? Well, they'll be blessed with the rule that requires they'll be starting at the back of the pack. Which in and of itself in a 24-hour race is, I mean, they had a front-running car, they wanted to qualify, the team wanted to do it. It was a very odd circumstance. I don't want to get into a whole lot of detail about it because it's pretty technical. But the end result was they had changed their motor ahead of time, and with it they took a brand new ECU out of the box, plugged it in the car. Just because that's what you do. Unfortunately, that ECU had not been calibrated. So when you have an ECU that's not been calibrated, it gets in the car, it tries to calibrate itself. This one thought it would be a good idea to run the electric motor that operates the throttle, because we have wireless throttle on the car, and run that thing constantly until it just burned that motor out. So that when you tried to start the car up and run it, it would go to automatic default, which is like full idle, and you can't accelerate, it doesn't work. And so, of course, we go to the most technical side of it to try and solve. It can't be anything simple. It's got to be something, in the 280-pin wiring loom harness thing. I mean, they worked all day. At the end of the day, we got it resolved. They missed the 20-minute qualifying session. They'll start at the back. The only thing you need to be careful of, the first 6 hours of this race are very critical, because you got every wanker out there running around just trying to do all kinds of destructive things to everybody. You really need to get in a pace, settle down, get each driver cycled through the car so they understand what the conditions are. You make it through the first 6 hours, you've raised your chances of finishing the event by a pretty big number. So we're going to be very careful those first 6 hours. There's going to be a ton of yellow flags. You saw during all the practice sessions this week, I mean, you're able to run about 15 or 20 minutes at a time before somebody's doing something stupid. So I think we'll be fine back there. There'll be enough yellows to move through. The guys that they're going to be passing know they're back there. They're not going to be fooling around with them. They'll, and there's plenty of opportunity to get by. We should be just fine, Doug says confidently. First 6 hours will tell, but they'll be at the back. Next question. Certainly with this group is that. Yes, ma'am?
Number 4 had an electrical pressure problem also.
Oh, yes, it did. Anybody watching this morning, the 4-car was in, we had like a 1-hour session for the first 45 minutes. I mean, it was the best minds in motorsports, scratching their heads, running around, can't figure it out, changing this, looking at that, computer here, computer there. Spark plug wire got knocked off. I'm telling you the truth. You can't make this up.
Only that long.
Oh my God, are you kidding? I got MIT graduates out there arguing with one another what's wrong. When they put it in, the wire down the bottom, as they dropped it in the car, it hit one of the mounting rails and it just popped that boot back. It wasn't really visible. But when it got all said and done, and Russell Blenis, who runs the powertrain development, who's an old guy like me, finally said to him, this sounds like Spark sounds. Okay, no computer. It sounds like Spark to me. Why doesn't somebody get under the car and check the spark plug? Oh, Ross, come on. Oh, yeah, we got my computer right here. Everything's firing. See, it was firing, but not all the time, because it was off the plug. So the computer's showing it. So you think it's a misfire. Well, you go through a myriad of electronic things before that spark gets to the wire. Not like a condenser points and distributor cans. Anyway, that's what it was. And then they went out, and I think we ended up running the fast 2 times in the last session. So it's amazing sometimes. You gotta laugh. You gotta laugh. We don't know. Yes? The question is the cold weather going to give you tire challenges? And the answer to that is, if in this relative temperature framework, it's going to be a little warmer tomorrow. The answer is no. It's actually pretty good. However, those of you that may have watched the history here when we were down for one of the tests, we weren't at the test. The LMP cars are all running on spec Continental tire. And they had a problem with that tire. They had sidewall failures because of the loading that occurs in the banking. They've got that resolved, but Michelin doesn't have a special tire for them. We're using our regular race tire. So Michelin is providing the tires, and we'll be changing tires at every stop, just to avoid any opportunity for failure to occur. That handles the safety side of are there are any issues. From the performance side, they have a tire that works really well in this temperature range. So we're in pretty good shape tire-wise, and we'll have plenty. Hopefully we'll get to use them all. Yes, Nigel. Nigel asked, can I explain the pit stop rules as how it used to be? Yeah, how it used to be, like an ALMS. Yeah. No, I can't explain it because I frankly don't understand it. It's like you went to pit stops. We're using a different pit stop procedure. The pit stop procedure was pretty orderly in American Le Mans series. And to me, it made some sense. You'd fuel the car, change the driver. When you got done fueling and all that dangerous explosive stuff was put behind pit wall, then the guys could start operating air guns and flying red hot brake dust around every place, get all that, and run out, and the car would go. Worked out just fine. You'd shut your car off while you're putting the gas in. Here, it's like you went to Hollywood, got 3 stunt guys who developed stunts and said, look, I want to do a movie where we have a catastrophic occurrence in the pit lane. Can you guys think of something we can do to really make our movie great and exciting? Well, sure, we can do that. Let's do this. First of all, when you jack the car up, just leave it run. Then you go ahead and dump the gas in it. But while you're dumping the gas in it, we're going to have guys changing tires. But we don't want to have 4 guys doing it. We only want to have 2 guys. So they'll have a chance to throw tires around and bump shit in, knock fuel off, and have it go on the hot exhaust gas and blow the whole place up. It'd be a great movie. Welcome to Tudor Pit Stops. Oh, and by the way, just to add a little further excitement, the vent man, who in the old days was standing in pit lane as a guide pole for the guy, would have the vent hose in his hand. Well, we can put him in pit lane. He can stand there, but he can't hold the vent hose. He's got to wait till the car stops, then stand on his tippy toes, fully exposing himself to all the traffic, reach and pull that vent, and then plug in. So that's just a little added drama for the movie. I don't know. I don't have an answer. It makes... No. Although I have had that very conversation with the sanction body. Somehow they didn't find it near as humorous as you did. But I think it made an impact, so we'll see how tomorrow goes. I usually don't rail against it. It's a terrible decision to do it the way they're doing it. It's terrible from every aspect. By the way, so you know, we are shutting our car off during fuel. We will not be leaving our car run because I don't believe that is in anybody's best interest. The other rule, while we're on these rules and I'm really ranting, you don't need a fire suit to get in pit lane.
Oh.
So all my guys can stand back in there and get 200 gallons of highly volatile race fuel, and they can be down there in their t-shirts and Levi's. The guys going over the wall have to have a fire suit, but nobody else in that pit lane has to have one. That's, I guess, okay if you want a bunch of spectators in there. It could work out for you. You know, you have to do a little policing. End of the day, all our guys will be in fire suits because that's the right thing to do. Anybody saw the recent race? It was a Spa Nürburgring with the Fehan Corvette team. Anybody see that video? Dude, you only need to see that guy running down there with his hands up and he's all on fire. Fortunately, wearing a fire suit, and the huge ball of flame that engulfed that entire team. To think that maybe fire suits are a pretty good idea, and maybe you ought to think about refueling as a semi-dangerous operation during a pit stop. So, at any rate, good question, and gave me a chance to just vent. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. So you know, I've spent half my life in the penalty box. But if you're referring to the race car, okay. Time will tell. What we're referring to here is that everybody knows the term sandbagging. Not running up to your full potential so that you either A, get additional accommodation from the sanctioning body, or you're not penalized because you went too fast. So everybody does it to some degree. So this year, the sanctioning body has said, you know, we're not going to put up with the sandbagging anymore. If you go out there and start running a whole lot faster than what you told us you could run or you showed us you could run, we're bringing you in and sitting you down for about 5 minutes. Pretty arbitrary. They didn't give us if you run 0.8 seconds faster over 10 laps or 2 seconds faster over 5. There's no, it's strictly subjective judgment on their part. Quite frankly, I'm all for it. It will depend, its success will depend on the implementation and how effective they are at doing that. I think they'll be reluctant to do it, but if you got a guy out there who's doing that, that's what needs to happen. So it'll be kind of fun, as long as it doesn't happen to us. It'll be kind of fun watching. Yeah, should be interesting, another new rule. Anything else? Yes, sir.
Tell us about the 2 new drivers.
2 new drivers, yes. Those of you who are totally familiar, when we run the longer races, Le Mans, Sebring, and here, we don't use just 4 drivers, we use a total of 6, 3 per car. And so those that followed us last year know that we employed Jordan, reigning LMP, whatever they call that thing, champion thing, and we won there. It was important, I just don't follow it. And Richard Westbrook, who had been with us before. Well, those 2 guys race here all full time. So they're racing here, so we can't use them. Well, not effectively. We're turning them out pretty well, racing their own car. Well, yeah, when you get done with that one, come on over and do a couple hours in our car, will you? So we picked 2 new guys. Ryan Briscoe, who comes to us with some pretty storied Penske IndyCar experience, and a wonderful young man. Just started a new family, had a kid in December, missed the test. Because he had a kid, come on. Wife's first baby, doesn't she know you're a racer? It's all about it. Anyway, but he did show up for the Roar. Does a wonderful job, and when you meet him today, I think you'll say, you know, this guy fits in. He could be a full-time Corvette race car guy. He has watched us for years, as most drivers have. Really appreciates what we have, not only from a competitive perspective, but what we have from a family-like environment. And he is beginning to learn how passionate you guys are about the car and about racing. So he'll be fun. The other driver we have, Robin Liddell, has raced for us for a number of years in Camaro at Chevrolet, an accomplished road racer, many championships, many victories in his career. Also very pleased and very proud to be selected for this. Again, a great guy. He's of Scottish descent. Cheap guy. He looks for everything free. Honestly, guy. I caught him taking snack bars out of our little deal inside the truck so he could take them home at night. I said, you don't have food at home? I said, well, you know, they had these at track. I thought I did that, you know. Yeah, the pockets bulging. We got enough for a month. Scottish guy. And then Ryan spends a lot of time in Australia, but I think he's actually British. So I haven't really cleared that up with him yet. I haven't looked at the flag on his belt. But he has that cool accent that all the babes like. That I could never imitate. I gotta go on just pure BS to get ahead, right? He just whips the accent on it, and man, that highway clears and he's down the road. Good guy, you'll love them both. They'll be here shortly. So I think we're happy to have them. They're doing a marvelous job. We will have Jordan and Richard for Le Mans. So they will come back and be our Le Mans drivers. And then this year, I think we may do Petit Le Mans with just 2 guys. I think we'd be a little more effective with 2 than we can with 3. And unless there's some catastrophic occurrence, you know, with somebody's health, or I guess the flu the night before, or some tragedy that always happens, I mean, we'll be fine. And then you have the ability to bring somebody in if that occurs. So I think we're going to stay focused with 2 guys. We've not done that before, but we've tickled around it on a number of occasions, and I think the guys would rather do it just the 2 guys. And it's pretty easy. You're usually out there for 9 hours, so it's really not that big a deal for 2 to 2. So that's the driver lineup story. What else do we got? Got another question. Jonathan, you're back there looking at me and just staring. I know you haven't done an interview, so I want a question out of you before we get done. But yes, sir, you.
One of the C6Rs going to the museum.
Are one of the C6Rs going to the museum? Only if they buy it. Yeah. Right now, those 2 cars sit on Mark Kent's spreadsheet as recoverable assets. So those cars are for sale. Those cars are for sale. That doesn't mean that they have to go to a race team. They can go to a collector, hint, or any group of guys that want to ante up and chip in and get it. But they're fully available for that. We like to share it. We saved the 1 car with the Earnhardt deal and the overall victory thing. Believe it or not, this is inside story. We have a division inside GM called Asset Recovery. The way they operate, the name is just way too long. We could just go with the first 3 letters. We have the number 1, chassis number 001 of this long line of Corvette history cars. So asset recovery, well, you can't keep holding on to that. You know, at GM we have a program that every 16 months we have to evaluate what we have on the books, and then we have to be able to sell those. We will have to take possession of it. Guys, this is the chassis number 1 of what could be, at that point in time, they didn't know this, I'm just BSing them, could be a long line of Corvette race cars. I mean, you look at the Grand Sport, never won anything, and the things are worth $10 million a piece. 6 of these rat traps running around out there, they couldn't finish 4 hours of racing. This is going to have huge value. We sold that car for $275,000. Now, I don't know how much it's worth today. At some point in time, I'm hoping that it has Grand Sport-like value and importance. I don't even know where it is. Some guy bought it $275,000. He's getting ready to retire. We'll find out. We'll see it next year at Barrett Jackson. It'll be, Rick Henry will be down there bidding $17.8 million for it. So yeah, we want to sell it. So anybody has an interest, come see me after I talk. What else we got? Certainly got to be 1 more. We got to stall until the drivers get here anyway. Yes?
Is the price still running to 2?